not really doing much, but it's more, again, it's more ceremonial. So
Right.
there was this bar in Hell's Kitchen, and it was like an old man's dive bar. Could have done like a revival of the Iceman Cometh. And this mounted cop a few times a week would go up to the bar. It had double wide doors. He would lower his head. The horse would march through the bar, and out in the back there was a little beer garden. The cop would tie up his horse, and he would go and have a liquid lunch. Now, NYPD members then and now are strictly forbidden to consume alcohol on duty, but it was the 1970s. And because it was such a rough Irish neighborhood, you had this gang terrorizing the neighborhood called the Westies, led by Jimmy Coonan and Mickey Featherstone. And they were into drugs, and they would shake down businesses for protection money. But since this cop and his horse was there so often, they basically left them alone because they didn't want any problems. So it was the best kept secret in Hell's Kitchen. And the local drunks would go in there and feed the horse carrots while the cop was having his cocktails. A couple of times the horse crapped on the floor of the bar, and the drunks thought that was good luck, and they'd run to the local OTB or off-track betting and place a bet because it's good luck. So one hot summer day, while the cop is having his gin and tonic at a bar, the horse drops dead. And now the cop runs outside, and he doesn't know what to do because he's not supposed to be back there in the first place. He can't get on the radio and call for the cavalry because the duty captain's going to show up. It's going to ask a lot of questions. You got alcohol in your breath, and there's a dead horse back here. What the hell has been going on? The bartender had a brother who owned a towing company. So he calls his brother up and tells him to bring a tape measure. Brother shows up a couple of minutes later with a wrecker and a tape measure, and he's like, what am I doing here? And he goes, come out back. And he goes, holy shit. He goes, how did the horse die? And he goes, we didn't have time for an autopsy. We got to get him out of here. So what the tow truck driver did was he backed up the tow truck to the front of the bar, ran the cable through the bar, hooked it to the horse's bridle, and slowly but surely towed the horse through this bar. And the drunks are crying. The bartender's buying everybody around. Probably somebody was singing Danny Boy. Once that dead horse hit the sidewalk, the tow truck driver knew better to hang around. He was out of there. And that's when the mounted cop springs into action. He gets on the radio. He calls it 1013, which in NYPD jargon means officer needs assistance. Everybody's racing over there. The patrol supervisor shows up. The duty captain shows up. And the mounted cop gives this Academy Award-winning performance that he just stopped in front of the bar to use the bathroom, and the horse tied him to a parking meter, and the horse dropped dead outside. And of course, there was a couple of drunks inside that backed up his story, and cop got away with it. And the funny thing is, a couple of weeks later, the mounted cop returned with his new partner, a shiny colt named Mary Jane. But he never went back into the beer cart because he wasn't going to put himself through that again. Sure. So what he would do is there was a parking garage, a 24-hour indoor parking garage, either across the street or down the block, where he would park the horse, and pay those guys a couple of bucks to look after them. And he would continue to go into the bar.
Oh my God. I absolutely love that story. And it's amazing when you hear something like that, how it triggers memories.